In the frozen expanses of the Arctic Circle, where the northern lights dance across a desolate, snow-covered landscape, Sweden's Special Operations Group, or SOG, are masters of their domain. Clad in state-of-the-art winter camouflage and armed with the latest technology, they move like ghosts through blizzards, their every action a testament to precision and power. But cut to the sweltering, unforgiving jungles of the Philippines, and the script flips entirely. Here, a different kind of warrior reigns supreme, one forged not in ice, but in the suffocating humidity and dense foliage of the tropics. Entering this green hell, the Swedish SOG operators carried an air of confidence, their high-tech gear gleaming under the canopy. They were NATO's newest elite, a force honed in Europe's harshest conditions. Across the clearing stood their counterparts, the Filipino Scout Rangers. Dressed in rugged, well-worn uniforms and armed with battle-tested rifles, they seemed almost primitive by comparison. The Swedes, accustomed to technological superiority, saw this as just another training exercise, a chance to prove their adaptability. They couldn't have been more wrong. What followed was not a drill, it was a brutal lesson in humility. The jungle itself became the Scout Rangers' greatest weapon. SOG operators, so adept in wide-open, frozen terrain, found themselves ensnared in cunningly laid bamboo traps and bogged down in ankle-deep mud that seemed to swallow them whole. Their advanced thermal optics were rendered useless by the ambient heat, and their communications gear struggled to penetrate the dense vegetation. All the while, the Scout Rangers moved around them like specters, striking with silent, devastating efficiency before melting back into the jungle, leaving the bewildered Swedes to wonder if they were fighting men or phantoms. In a debriefing room, crisp 4K footage played back the Swedes' ordeal. It showed every misstep, every moment of frustration as they were systematically outmaneuvered. Then, in a moment of digital irony, the footage flickered, glitched, and was wiped clean, a digital file erased. But the memory of the humiliation lingered, etched onto the faces of the SOG operators. Their expressions were a mixture of anger and grudging respect, a stark contrast to the quiet, unyielding determination seen in the eyes of the Filipino Scout Rangers. This wasn't just a training exercise, it was a clash of worlds. This encounter unfolded in early 2024, a period of significant geopolitical shifts. Animated maps on a global display would show Sweden's recent entry into NATO, a strategic move to counter rising tensions in Europe. Simultaneously, the world's focus was pivoting to the Asia-Pacific, where territorial disputes and power plays were creating a new theater of global competition. For NATO, understanding jungle warfare wasn't just an academic exercise, it was a strategic necessity, and the Philippines offered the perfect, unforgiving classroom. The SOG are undeniably among the world's most elite special forces. Forged in the crucible of Sweden's brutal winters, their training is legendary. They are experts in Arctic warfare, counter-terrorism, and direct action, backed by a government that spares no expense on their equipment. From advanced assault rifles to sophisticated surveillance drones, their technological edge is a core component of their doctrine, allowing them to dominate conventional battlefields. But the Philippine jungle is anything but conventional. A split screen would dramatically illustrate the contrast. On one side, the vast white emptiness of Sweden, where long lines of sight and cold precision are key. On the other, the chaotic, claustrophobic green of the jungle, a sensory overload of heat, humidity, and hidden dangers. The SOG's gear, designed for sub-zero temperatures, became a burden. Their tactics, honed for open terrain, were nullified by the dense, three-dimensional battlefield of the jungle. In the end, as the exercise concluded, the message was clear. Powerful shots showed the Scout Rangers moving with an almost supernatural ease through their environment, masters of a domain that had so thoroughly defeated their visitors. The SOG operators, humbled and exhausted, watched with a newfound understanding. They had come to the jungle expecting to teach, but instead, they had been schooled. Technology and training have their limits, and in the heart of the wild, it is the warrior who is one with the land who will always hold the ultimate advantage. Now, contrast that with the Filipino Scout Rangers. If the SOG are sleek, high-tech phantoms, the Scout Rangers are primal jungle spirits, elusive, unbreakable, and lethally adaptive. The 1st Scout Ranger Regiment, or FSRR, was officially born on November 25, 1950, during the height of the Hukbalahap Communist Rebellion that threatened to topple the young Philippine Republic. Founded by Captain Rafael Ileto, who drew inspiration from the U.S. Army Rangers and the elite Alamo Scouts of World War II, but he infused it with pure Filipino ingenuity. These weren't just soldiers, they were small, agile teams designed to infiltrate deep behind enemy lines, live off the land indefinitely, and strike with surgical ferocity. Their core philosophy revolves around diskarte, that beautiful, untranslatable Filipino word that means resourcefulness, clever improvisation, and unbreakable willpower in the face of impossible odds. The training is pure hell on earth. The Scout Ranger course lasts 6 grueling months, kicking off with Reception Day, a 24-hour onslaught where instructors physically and mentally dismantle you. Endless push-ups in knee-deep mud, forced marches with 50-kilogram packs through swamps infested with leeches and snakes. Live fire exercises where one wrong move gets you washed out or injured. Graduates learn to hunt and eat whatever the jungle provides. Snakes, insects, wild roots. They navigate without GPS, using the stars, animal behavior, bird calls, and pure instinct. Their iconic badge is a black tabak bolo knife over a red shield, with the motto, "We Strike." They've spilled blood in every major conflict since their inception, crushing communist insurgents in the mountains, battling Moro separatists and Abu Sayyaf terrorists in the dense islands of Mindanao and Sulu, holding the line in the brutal 2013 Zamboanga siege, and playing a pivotal role in the 2017 Battle of Marawi against ISIS-affiliated groups. In Marawi, they fought urban jungle warfare for 5 months, clearing terrorist-held buildings room by room under constant sniper fire and IED threats. Casualties were heavy, but they prevailed. To outsiders, especially Western forces, they often appear as underdogs, operating with older M16 rifles, limited budgets, no fancy exosuits or drone swarms. But that's the trap. Their strength isn't in gear, it's in heart, experience, and an intimate bond with the chaos of their homeland. The fateful clash happened during a classified joint exercise codenamed Operation Jungle Shadow, held deep in the triple canopy rainforests of Zambales province on Luzon Island, Philippines. This was part of a broader push to strengthen U.S.-Philippine military ties, with Sweden tagging along to build interoperability credentials. Neutral observers from Australia and Japan were invited to document everything with high-definition cameras, body cams, and drones for impartial after-action analysis. The exercise scenario was straightforward on paper, a simulated hostage rescue and high-value target pursuit. A 12-man Swedish SOG team, commanded by the experienced Captain Lars Eriksson, a tall, battle-hardened veteran with scars from operations in Afghanistan, would act as the hunter force. Their objective: locate, track, and capture a 2-man evasion team from the Scout Rangers within 72 hours across a 50-square-kilometer search area riddled with steep ravines, raging rivers, flash floods, and deadly wildlife. The terrain was nightmare fuel, humidity hovering at 95%, temperatures pushing 35 degrees Celsius, and vegetation so thick that sunlight barely pierced the canopy. The Swedes arrived like conquerors. Black Hawk helicopters thundered in, unloading crates of state-of-the-art equipment worth millions. Thermal drones from Saab, encrypted satellite comms, night vision goggles with augmented reality overlays, lightweight exoskeletons for enhanced endurance, and precision rifles with smart scopes. Eriksson gathered his team for the briefing under a makeshift tent. "Listen up, men. We're up against local forces, the Filipino Scout Rangers. They're tough in their environment, no doubt, but they're under-resourced and rely on old-school tactics. Our technology will give us overwhelming superiority. We'll have eyes in the sky, real-time tracking, and superior mobility. This should be wrapped up in under 24 hours. Stay sharp, stay superior." The team nodded confidently, a few smirks exchanged. They saw the Rangers as admirable, but ultimately inferior. Third-world troops against first-world elite. The Filipino team? Just 2 men, Sergeant Miguel Ghost Santos, a 36-year-old veteran from Mindanao with eyes that had seen too many firefights, and Corporal Ramon Viper Cruz, a 29-year-old powerhouse from Bicol, known for his unbreakable stamina. No helicopters, no fanfare, just a quiet jeep drop-off. They carried basic rucksacks, worn M16 slung casually, sharp bolo knives at their hips, and faces painted with natural mud. Santos looked at Cruz and said softly in Tagalog, "Puso at diskarte lang pare." Heart and ingenuity only, no arrogance, just quiet confidence born from a lifetime in the jungle. The exercise kicked off at first light. The Rangers got a standard 30-minute head start. As the starting flare shot up, Santos and Cruz didn't bolt, they simply vanished. No crashing through brush, no obvious trails. They employed the ghost walk, slow, deliberate steps on soft leaf litter, bodies low and weaving between ferns like shadows. Cruz immediately mixed crushed local herbs with mud and smeared it over their skin and clothes, not just for camouflage, but to mask body heat and scent from any potential trackers or dogs. The Swedes didn't bring dogs. They considered it too primitive. Santos, drawing on childhood survival skills from hunting in Palawan's wilds, read the jungle like a book. A flock of birds suddenly taking flight meant disturbance ahead. Monkey chatter shifting direction signaled movement. They moved parallel to a nearby stream, wading ankle-deep to erase footprints and scent trails. Back at the Swedish insertion point, Eriksson wasted no time. "Drones up," he ordered. 4 silent quadcopters lifted off, equipped with advanced thermal imaging and motion detectors, scanning predefined grid sectors. "We'll have heat signatures locked in minutes," the drone operator reported confidently. By hour 2, the first hits came in, faint thermal blips in Sector Bravo. "Moving to intercept," Eriksson radioed, leading his team in a brisk advance. But those blips, masterful decoys. Hours earlier, during their head start, the Rangers had gathered river stones, heated them over a quick smokeless fire using dry bamboo, then buried them shallowly under leaf cover. The residual heat mimicked human bodies perfectly for hours. The Swedes bit hard, diverting their main patrol into a deliberate misdirection. As the morning wore on, the jungle began its assault on the invaders. Humidity soaked through high-tech fabrics designed for Arctic conditions. Vines snagged expensive rifle slings. Mud, thick, red, clinging mud, sucked at carbon fiber boots. One younger operator, Private Anders Nilsson, started swatting at persistent insects, his neck soon dotted with leech bites. "This place is a living hell," he muttered in Swedish. Hydration systems ran low faster than simulations predicted. The evaporation rate in 95% humidity was brutal. Eriksson pushed them harder. "Maintain pace. Tech will close the gap." Meanwhile, the Rangers were thriving. They paused briefly under a thick banana leaf canopy. Sipping fresh water from vines, Santos expertly slashed open with his bolo. Crews foraged edible ferns and wild tubers, calories without fire. From a concealed ridge 800 meters away, they observed the Swedish patrol stumbling into the first false trail, a path they'd prepped with dragged branches and scattered leaves mimicking hasty footprints. "They're following like lost tourists," Cruz whispered with a grin. Santos nodded. Time for the first psychological jab. They looped back silently and rigged a simple but effective whisper snare. Thin, nearly invisible vines stretched across the trail at ankle height, connected to a flexible sapling. When triggered, it would hoist the victim upside down without causing real injury, just pure embarrassment. It happened around hour 7. The Swedish point man, a seasoned sergeant named Bjorn Larsson, stepped right into it. Whoosh! The vine snapped, and Bjorn was suddenly dangling helplessly, blood rushing to his head, rifle dangling uselessly. His teammates froze, then rushed to cut him down, faces flushed with a mix of concern and suppressed laughter. Body cams captured it all. Bjorn cursing fluently in Swedish as he hit the ground, mud splattering his pristine gear. "What kind of childish trap is this?" Eriksson growled over comms. But the damage was done, morale dipped, and the Rangers, hidden 50 meters away in thick ferns, shared a silent fist bump. Dusk fell heavy and sudden, as it does in the tropics. The Swedes established a high-tech defensive perimeter, motion sensors deployed in a 360-degree ring, sentry drones hovering silently, night vision goggles switched to thermal mode. Eriksson huddled over a rugged tablet, analyzing satellite uplinks and drone feeds. Anomaly detected, 2 clicks northeast, possible heat cluster. The team mobilized swiftly, moving in bounding overwatch under the green glow of NVGs. They closed in confidently on what they believed was the Ranger bivouac. But it was another masterpiece of deception. Crews had rigged a phantom camp, a small banked fire with damp leaves producing just enough smoke and heat to register, plus a warm rock buried nearby. As the Swedes crept closer, Santos initiated the jungle symphony. Using hollowed bamboo tubes and practiced calls, they mimicked a chorus of night animals, howler monkeys, startled birds, prowling wildcats. The sounds echoed disorientingly, masking direction and distance. One nervous Swede, spotting movement in the underbrush, fired a simulation round into the dark, triggering an automatic enemy alert penalty under exercise rules. Points deducted, frustration mounted. "They're playing games with us," Eriksson hissed into his mic. Unbeknownst to them, the Rangers lay prone just 40 meters away, bellies flat in the dirt, watching the confusion unfold through natural gaps in the foliage. Night turned to pounding rain around hour 10, a tropical downpour that turned trails into rivers and visibility to 0. Swedish drones struggled, batteries swelled in the moisture, signals glitched under the dense canopy. GPS readings flickered erratically. One drone short-circuited and crashed into a tree. "Adapt," Eriksson ordered, but his voice carried the first hint of strain. The team slogged on, boots waterlogged, gear heavier with every step. The Rangers used the storm masterfully. They fashioned broad banana leaves into improvised sleds and slid silently down muddy slopes, covering kilometers without leaving tracks. Water erased everything. Crews spotted an opportunity and set the next layer of traps. Itch lines, vines coated with sap from local irritant plants stretched across likely paths. When brushed against, the sap caused burning welts and uncontrollable scratching. 3 Swedes triggered them over the next hours, stopping repeatedly to claw at their skin, rifles slung uselessly as they cursed. Body cams rolled mercilessly, capturing the comedy of elite operators reduced to frantic scratching. Day 2 dawned gray and relentless. The Swedes were already showing cracks, sleep deprivation from constant alerts, dehydration despite rationing, and mounting injuries. One operator succumbed to heat exhaustion around hour 20, collapsing during a river crossing. Medevac helicopter called in, another major penalty. Ericsson's face was grim. We're burning time. Double the drone coverage. But the remaining drones were failing one by one. The Rangers conversely moved like they were on a casual hike. They crossed swollen rivers by lashing logs into quick rafts, navigated ridgelines using natural landmarks, and maintained perfect energy conservation. Around midday hour 24, they decided it was time to turn defense into offense. Circling wide, they shadowed the fragmented Swedish patrols, then executed a textbook-simulated ambush. Bursting from concealed positions with thunderous war cries, they engaged with paintball simulation rounds and swift bolo taps, close-quarters mastery honed from years of real anti-terror raids. 2 Swedes went down instantly, tagged out, and forced to sit with hands raised as per rules. The neutral observers' cameras caught it perfectly, stunned Swedish faces as the Rangers melted back into the green before reinforcements could react. Eriksson called an emergency regroup. His team was spread thin, exhausted, gear malfunctioning. "They're not evading, they're hunting us," he admitted over secure comms, voice tight. The Rangers, now miles ahead, left one final taunt. A rearranged Swedish energy bar wrapper formed into an arrow pointing deliberately in the wrong direction. Eriksson found it and slammed his fist into a tree trunk, mocking us to our faces. By hour 48, halfway through the exercise, the Swedes were effectively broken. Drones grounded, sensors useless in the mud, team cohesion fraying. Eriksson made the call. Concede the pursuit and attempt a late extraction. But the Rangers? They reached the designated finish line a full 24 hours early, fresh as the start, signaling victory with a simple green flare. The final debrief at base camp was solemn. Neutral observers presented the raw footage to both sides. Swedish faces paled as they watched themselves flounder, dangling from snares, scratching furiously, firing at shadows, dying in ambushes. The Rangers stood quietly, no gloating. Captain Eriksson approached Sergeant Santos afterward, extending a hand. "How? Your gear, your numbers, everything was against you." Santos smiled faintly. "Sir, it's not about gear, it's puso, heart. And knowing the land like your own mother. She provides if you listen." A long handshake followed, mutual respect, hard-earned. Word of the outcome leaked quietly in military circles. An embarrassing drubbing for a NATO elite unit. The footage, meant for training improvement, was uploaded to joint secure servers. Analysts began reviews. Then abruptly, orders came down from Swedish High Command. Delete all copies. Servers wiped, drives formatted, observer backups lost in transit. The official reason? Operational security concerns. The real reason? National pride. A brand new NATO member couldn't afford public humiliation against a smaller ally's forces. The Philippines, ever gracious, stayed silent. No need to rub it in, but the lesson stuck. If you're loving this deep dive into one of the most underrated military upsets in modern training history, the kind of story that proves technology bows to human spirit, then do me a huge favor right now, smash that subscribe button. We're dropping raw, real no-holds-barred military tales like this every single week. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join thousands who don't want to miss the next hidden gem. Your support keeps these stories coming. The aftermath rippled beyond that jungle. Captain Eriksson reportedly requested follow-up cross-training with the Rangers, spending weeks learning bolo techniques, natural camouflage, and jungle navigation. He returned to Sweden a changed commander, pushing for more low-tech scenarios in SOG curricula. Neutral observers wrote private reports praising Ranger ingenuity, influencing Australian and Japanese doctrine. In NATO circles, quiet discussions began. Maybe over-reliance on gadgets leaves vulnerabilities in contested environments. Why did the Swedes underestimate so badly? Simple hubris mixed with cultural blind spots. Western forces often view developing nations' militaries through a lens of pity. outdated equipment, limited funding. They forget that real combat experience trumps simulators every time. The Scout Rangers don't train in climate-controlled facilities. They train in the actual cauldron of insurgency. Every graduate has likely seen real action. Diskarte isn't taught in textbooks. It's forged in typhoons, earthquakes, and firefights. Compare the environments that shape them. Sweden. Stable, prosperous, cold. Soldiers train hard but return to warm barracks. Philippines. A nation of 7,100 islands battered by nature and conflict. Rangers grow up surviving disasters, 20 typhoons annually, volcanic eruptions, poverty that demands creativity. That resilience translates directly to the battlefield. Tech versus nature was the decisive factor. Swedish drones, brilliant in open Arctic skies, were blinded by canopy, crippled by humidity. GPS failed under triple foliage layers. Exoskeletons added weight that sank in mud. Rangers used earth technology, mineral-rich mud to defeat thermals, stream immersion to kill scents, plant saps for traps. No batteries to fail, no signals to jam. Psychologically, too, the Swedes expected quick dominance, trained for high-intensity bursts. Rangers trained for endurance marathons, accepting discomfort as normal. A 72-hour evasion? Just another Tuesday. This incident echoes historical lessons. American forces in Vietnam overwhelmed by Viet Cong tunnel networks and booby traps despite air superiority. British in Malaya learning the hard way against communist guerrillas who own the jungle. Time and again, the side that respects the environment wins. The vanished footage remains a ghost. Some say copies circulate in dark corners of military forums, traded like forbidden relics. Others claim a hacker collective dubbed Shadow Musang holds the master files, waiting for the perfect moment to drop them. One grainy clip allegedly surfaced briefly online, a Swede dangling upside down, team scrambling, before vanishing again. But the truth doesn't need video to endure. In barracks across the Philippines, young Rangers hear the story and stand taller. In Sweden, SOG operators train a little harder in the rain now. And somewhere, in the heart of the jungle, the land itself remembers. It always sides with its own. Never underestimate those who call the wild home. The Filipino Scout Rangers didn't just win an exercise, they delivered a timeless reminder. Heart, ingenuity, and harmony with the chaos will humble even the mightiest machines. Thanks for sticking with me through this epic tale. If it fired you up, subscribe now.